Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Mike Malloy, the founder and CEO of Malloy Industries, a unique fractional executive marketplace and business consulting firm. Malloy Industries helps scaling companies plug in vetted fractional COOs, CMOs, CFOs, and other expert consultants to grow smarter and faster without the full-time overhead. Mike's built a model that empowers companies to execute and grow by accessing fractional talent, mentorship, and strategic infrastructure. Mike, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks, Ammar. I'm happy to be here.
I am super excited to dive in. So help us understand. I always like to start from the beginning. So take us on a little trip down memory lane to before you started Malloy Industries. What were you doing at that time? And then what was really the motivation behind starting your company?
So it was a dark and stormy night in Annapolis, Maryland, September 29th, 1986, when Tom and Kathy Malloy brought me home from the hospital. From there, I studied math, computer science up at Boston College. And I have previous experience as a Deloitte consultant, a traveling sunglasses salesman, startup CEO, incubator program director, and adjunct professor at Georgetown University. And I'm passionate about being a relentlessly generous and enthusiastically fun force for good in the world. I want to help entrepreneurs buy back their freedom and time, focus on what matters most, both professionally and personally. In a former life, I was a traveling sunglass salesman and wave-born CEO. So I ran a business from 25 to 30. I learned there's for profits, non-profits, and then there's no profits, Ammar. And I went bankrupt at 30. It did not work out. A lot of humbling lessons from that. I did learn about sales in Automobile University, if you will, listening to a lot of audiobooks from Zig Ziglar and Grant Cardone and a lot of the greats. Because I literally had a white van driving around from surf shop to surf shop selling sunglasses. And after that, I took a step back, helped other entrepreneurs in this incubator program for 5 years. And then, did you hear about the global pandemic a few years ago, COVID?
Some rumblings about it, not too sure what it was, but yeah, I've heard slightly about it.
Yeah, so I was in DC at the time in a basement apartment with no natural light, unreliable internet, and a wife that I'd only been married to for 6 months. So we decided pretty quickly, hey, we got to get out of here. We moved to the beach in Delaware and continued working from home for about 9 months. And then they said, spring of 21, hey, it's time to come back to the office. That was really the forcing function for me to take a second entrepreneurial leap at 34 and married, which is very different than 25 and single. I had to make a whole presentation for my wife and financial models. And like, hey, we're going to make money. It's going to be okay. You still got a job. But like, we're not going back to the city. And so that summer was great. It was a Mike Malloy single shingle. I'll help with sales, marketing, fundraising. But to be vulnerable for a minute with the listeners here, my mom passed away in September. And that was an unexpected shock to the system, especially because it was the same week my wife told me she was pregnant with our first son. And so I took some time off and grieved and was with my dad. I went back to work in October and realized I made $0 in September. And like, that was all right for a month. But like, how do I take paternity leave in 7 months? And how do I build a business that's scalable and sustainable and not just Mike's billable hours?
Mm,
So that whole path led me on this journey to be all in, that the future of work is fractional. And that if you as a executive, somebody who has decades of experience, career capital skills, like you don't have to just have one W-2 job and spend all your time and energy there. You can actually add a tremendous amount of value to a few different growing companies. Thanks to COVID, we all learned how to work remote too.
yeah.
And so Malloy Industries really specializes in helping CEOs, typically of 2 million on their way to 20, 50 million in annual revenue businesses, scale by bringing in these vetted executives with decades of experience who can lead the sales team, build out your go-to-market motion and strategy, be your fractional COO, take you out of the business so you're not in it, but you're working on it, and they're able to build the systems and processes, the scaffolding to scale it up. We also have on-demand HR directors, fractional CFOs, and executive coaches, as well as like ops managers who do a lot of the work that needs to get done. But yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of how we
Yeah.
got to where we are over the past 4 years. The business has definitely evolved and excited for what's ahead
Yeah.
this summer and beyond.
I really appreciate you breaking that down, and I appreciate you opening up and being a little bit vulnerable. I know how tough it is to lose a family member. My younger brother passed away in 2019, and
Oh,
obviously it is a big shock to the system. So I can only imagine a parent. Now, One thing, I'll make a quick point. Zig Ziglar, I love that guy. I haven't heard that name in years. It's been a while, and I remember one of his favorite quotes is, "If you help enough people accomplish their dreams, you will accomplish your dreams." I'm paraphrasing, but it was a
You
com
nailed it, Ammar. And I literally said that in the meeting right before this to somebody else. I got goosebumps. Like,
We're
love
on the
it.
same wavelength. What can I say? But I'd love to dive into your business a little bit further. So you mentioned you help CEOs between 2 million and then 20, 50 million in revenue, and you connect them with fractional talent. You help them scale without the overhead. Now, I'm super intrigued with what your business model is. So how does Malloy Industries actually generate revenue? What does that offer look like?
Absolutely. So we offer the fractional executives, and all of our clients engage directly with us. So we have this network of over 400 people who are way smarter than us, that are 1099s. And so I'm the only W-2 employee at Malloy Industries. We do have a core team of 6 people that we work with, but it's basically a 3-step process. And when people engage with us, step one is a brief assessment. Typically, it's a 15-minute call with my chief of staff, Tina, to understand the business, what you need help with. And then she'll qualify it and book a meeting with me where we'll do a more thorough assessment and scope out what's your most expensive problem to solve. Why is this important? Why now? What are the metrics before, during, after to know that it's working? If we're sitting down 6 to 12 months in the future, having a drink, celebrating this massive success together, what are we celebrating? I love the kind of Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind. And then from there, we'll do the Malloy match. And so our matchmaking algorithm is a very complex series of data points that are all in my head, Ammar. It's not an AI thing, it's a people thing. I'm like, I get people, I have a master's in computer science, but I actually have people skills, and I've been advising over 100 startups to know what are the things that they need. Okay, you need a circle peg, but you also need a circle peg who gets along with your personality type. So
Yeah.
let me bring in Kevin, not Shirley, because Kevin's going to get along better.
Yep.
And within 3 to 5 days of that first assessment, we'll make that match, connect them for an initial kind of interview, an additional scoping call to
Yep.
understand the nuances of what they need help with. And then we can kick off the project in 7 to 10 days.
Wow.
That's a big part of the value prop, is that we move quickly, especially if there's either money coming in or you need to go out and fundraise and you can't lead that part of the company anymore. Sometimes somebody quits, you got to let somebody go. And if it's going to take 3 to 6 months to find a full-time replacement, we can come in 2 or 3 weeks, lead that department. And in many cases, our fractionals have helped interview, recruit, onboard, train the replacements, hand them the baton, and then we ride off into the sunset. In
Yep.
other cases, we have clients, we just celebrated a 1-year anniversary today, actually, with one of our clients, Convoke. Happy anniversary, Will and Dave. I sent them a little video earlier today wishing them happy anniversary. Next month, we got a 2-year anniversary. We've got one client for 4 years now. It can go on in perpetuity. But yeah, they'll work directly with us, and we tend to bill the projects on a monthly retainer for a percent capacity.
Got it.
20 to 60% capacity, 1 to 3 days a week. We are not lawyers billing in 6-minute increments. We're grown-ups who know how to get stuff done. And especially on the sales, marketing, go-to-market side, we're going to build it out. We're going to do what it takes to get the number of leads, to get to the number of meetings, to get to the number of proposals, to get the number of clients, to hit those sales goals along the way.
Awesome. I love that. And thank you for breaking that down. You touched upon a point that I bring up a lot on this podcast is the idea of scalability, right? So you mentioned sustainable and scalable, not just billable hours. And I think that's very important, especially in the consulting realm, to approach it from that perspective. So it sounds like to me, if I'm hearing you correctly, essentially the offer proposition is the CEOs work with your company directly, and then you connect them with the fractional executives. And then from there, the fractional executives, the 1099s, are responsible for the fulfillment. So essentially for you is just a game of bringing on as many leads and as many sales, as many clients as possible, because the fulfillment is taken care of by the 1099s. Is that a fair, accurate assessment?
I think you explained it very well. There is a little bit more nuance that I'll add in. And let me ask, are you familiar with the revenue architecture on the bow tie model from Winning by Design?
I'm not, no.
All right, and I'll share a resource with you afterwards for the show notes on revenue architecture. So like traditional sales funnel, lead comes in, it goes in, it converts at the bottom, they're going to buy from you. That's the left side of the bow tie. The right side of the bow tie is then onboarding, retention, and expansion.
Yep.
And so we care a lot about that because I think somebody did research, it's 9 times easier to get someone who's already paid you money to pay you money again than to get a new stranger to pay you money. Therefore, on the retention and expansion side, We do monthly check-ins where my chief of staff checks in with the client and the fractional executive. Hey, how's it going? Anything we do more of, less of, start doing, stop doing. And about a year ago, we also started having all of our fractional executives submit a end of week report the Malloy way. And so
Cool.
this goes to the client and to our team, and it's how we provide ongoing customer success and support. And it's basically, here's what I did this week, key meetings, things accomplished, key meetings for next week, priorities. Hey, client, here's where I'm stuck, and I need you to give me access to HubSpot or review that marketing thing I built. And then my upcoming schedule for next week. And as soon as you have vacation, family, summer, whatever, you put it in the report each week. So there aren't surprises. We've done more than 100 of these projects over the past few years. It almost always comes down to communication. And we found this does a great job reinforcing it, making sure that it's happening. And it's not like a ma, the meatloaf. Like, oh, what is she doing back there? I have no idea.
Yeah. No, for sure. I like that a lot. And I think that's good point for the listeners is the onboarding, the retention piece, having it be 9 times easier to sell someone on the back end. That's why it's important to have those end of week reports and have those metrics that you're keeping track of to make sure that client success is where you want it to be. Let's shift a little bit over to acquisition and the back.
Ammar, can I actually add one more thing on the right side too? And for the listeners, I encourage you to add in a risk reversal with any of your offers. So there's some risk that people have in their head, like, hey, this might not work out, and what happens if it won't work out? So we actually offer a 365-day warranty called the second match free guarantee, where if for any reason that first fractional in the first year doesn't work out, we'll step in, we'll understand why, how we can adjust the pattern matching, and then give you a replacement for free. And so we do typically charge on the front end, like an executive search firm charges like 33% of the first year total comp. That's $50,000. We charge $3,300. There's a one-time fee on the front end that also covers all the customer success and the replacement if you need one. It's only happened twice,
Yeah,
but it's there, and it's one of the things that helps people make the buying decision when they know,
for
hey,
sure.
if this doesn't work out, have a safety net.
Great point. Let's shift over to the back end of the business and more the acquisition side. So when it comes to acquiring customers, when you're looking to bring in more CEOs and people that need this type of talent, what does that look like? What does your marketing process look like to generate leads?
Great question. We've experimented with a lot of different things and have found across the board, Mike showing up in person at events is the best way to go. I'm a pretty high energy, enthusiastic guy. I wear a lot of Hawaiian shirts. I tell some dad jokes and have a very good network in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Have started going further up the East Coast, down to Texas for some events. And what's fascinating is I often don't go to the events and meet our future customers. I go to the events and make new friends who then one of them 2 months later randomly connects me with a future customer. And within a few weeks, they hire us and we get started. And
Got
so
it.
it is the kindergarten game of telephone, kind of that word of mouth marketing. People have to know about it. And a framework for your listeners too. There's kind of 5 stages of the customer journey: problem unaware, problem aware, like they know something sucks; solution aware, but do they know fractional executives exist? And they often don't. And so somebody connects that thread, and then it's product aware. Okay, they know Malloy Industries exists. And then most aware, all right, make me an offer and I'll buy your service or product. And so you
Got
need
it.
different messaging at those 5 different stages.
For sure. It sounds like in-person events and referrals, word of mouth are the main bulk of the business. I'm
Yeah.
super curious your perspective on this because a topic that I like to touch upon is the idea of predictable lead flow and
Mm-hmm.
building in some sort of machine where it's essentially like a faucet where you can turn on and off, get more leads at will. And referrals, word of mouth,
It's
high,
not a faucet.
yeah, it's highest intent, but it's not a faucet. It's like you were saying, it's very difficult to scale predictably based off of that. So for you,
Yep.
you think about that. What is your perspective?
I think it's smart, and it's something we're still experimenting with. We're on year 5 of this business, and some of those faucets and things to consider: paid ads, LinkedIn. So I post every morning at 9 a.m. on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there, commenting on other people's. I heard a great quote the other day that posting content is marketing, sending DMs is sales.
Yep.
And so understanding the difference there, we use a tool called Buzz AI to help with LinkedIn outreach and drip campaigns there. We use Active Campaign for our email marketing newsletters. We have like a bi-weekly business bites. We're also starting to send some more kind of emails designed to convert people. Every month we're focused on different type of fractional executives. Right now we're focused on operations. So we got a series of emails going out to our list and finding ways to build that list as well. I would recommend the other thing for us is SEO. If you Google fractional sales executive, we're somewhere on page 1. Sometimes we're number 1, sometimes we're number 5. Like we've
Yeah.
done well there. That's a lifelong game though. You got to continue to do that. And then I'll also throw out affiliate partnerships relationships as a good lead flow for us because we have 400 fractional executives that don't do all the things. They're really good at their thing. And so mobilizing them to be like, hey, I'm the sales guy, but talk to this one. They need an HR person. Talk to Malloy. Like I will graciously catch those emails. Again, it's a little bit referral, but it's more like they're in the family and they know that if they send me a referral, and actually, if any of your listeners send a referral, they get a custom Hawaiian shirt. That's one of the ways that we thank people for the flow.
Can you briefly touch upon your sales process? Because I want to move on to other things, and I know we're tight on time, but touch upon what your sales process looks like. So you mentioned there's a 15-minute assessment, then it goes to a call with you. Is it typically a one call close, two call close? How does that work? And then maybe any challenges around sales.
It's typically a 3 call close because there's me understanding, scoping it out, them meeting the fractional executive, and then the closing call. And so I'm happy to quickly run through some of the how I structure my first call. And if it would be helpful, Ammar, like I have a pretty good Google Doc script. We can share that in the show notes. Start with summary questions, like walk me through what you're doing now for marketing, sales, go to market. So I have some background. How long does it take? Let's talk about the strategy. Who's your ICP? What's your ideal client profile? What's your average contract value? How long's your sales cycle? What are you doing now? What's your close rate? And then I ask, what are your core challenges with your go-to-market motion? Or what's your most expensive problem that you want to solve? And that works pretty well. And then it's helpful to ask, hey, before we were talking today, were you out there looking at other options to improve this thing and achieve this benefit? Or what have you been doing? And that is a great question to ask to identify who are your competitors that they're already evaluating. If they say no, and that's interesting, maybe you're the only one, or like, why haven't you been doing other things? And if they say yes, ideally you know how to position yourself, what makes you different, better than them. Then we'll get into the negative consequences, like, Ammar, have you thought about what would happen if you don't do anything to improve your go-to-market and situation gets worse?
For sure.
That helps. We'll get positive. We'll talk, hey, what's the available budget to invest in this project? Are there any roadblocks that might slow it down? And then I have a little transition into it sounds like we might be able to help.
Yeah, I like that. When you think of your vision and really where you want to take the company over the next 12 months, are there any specific revenue targets, performance targets? Paint me that picture.
Yeah, great question. I hinted at we have a 3-year-old chief cuteness officer. So this whole business is built around being able to spend as much time as possible with my son before he goes to kindergarten and ultimately build pay for his education. That is my why, if you will. There's very much some family roots there, and relentlessly generous is our number one core value. We're always looking for ways to give, and I'm trying to share some insights here in this recording. My vision is to surpass $1,570,000 in sales. And that's about a 3x from where we were last year. We're on the path there. We're maybe a little bit below it right now, but you give me 12 months from today, I feel very confident that's where we're headed. And then continuing to grow from there. And are you familiar with the concept of flywheels?
Yep.
Yeah. So once you get them spinning, they start going pretty quickly. And we have the supply side of fractional executives. It's going so fast. I get an email a day, somebody referring me to a new fractional. I'd love to get an email a day, somebody referring me to a new CEO who needs a fractional.
Yeah. So the demand side. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What do you feel like is the biggest challenge to hitting that target? Is it generating more demand or is it something else that you would add?
I'm going to say generating demand. And I think I can also always improve conversions along the funnel. And a lot of that's on me. Like I'm the primary business development sales guy. And for listeners out there, highly recommend you have Fathom or some AI note taker join you on meetings. And then you can ask it, coaches, as if, say, act as an expert sales coach. What did I do great in that call? I should continue doing. What do you recommend I do differently next time? And that like reflection period is very helpful to be a student of the game and keep getting better.
I am a big believer in reviewing your calls, especially ones that you feel should have closed but didn't close. Those are probably the best ones to review. But I want to ask you a couple more questions. One is if you were talking to a new entrepreneur and you could tell them a piece of advice that you wish you knew when you were first starting off, what would that be?
Talk to your customers, talk to your customers, talk to your future customers, be relentlessly curious about your customers. Don't build stuff in your head, build it in public. Know that it's always going to have some part of it that sucks, but like it's other people's perception and feedback that is so valuable. And be open and coachable, not Like whenever somebody asks a question, we're smile and nod. That's a great question. I appreciate
Yeah.
you asking that. Not the stupid, we tried, it doesn't work. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give you any other advice, man.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And that's huge. I like what you said with build in public, not in private, because a lot of times you're going to hear what the market wants and you're going to adjust accordingly. And you'll probably make a lot more money in the process.
Especially if you fall in love with your customers' pain points, not
Yep.
the V1 solution in your head.
100%. Yeah, don't build something that nobody wants. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, would love to connect on LinkedIn. Mike Malloy with a little sunglass emoji after it. My email is mike@malloyindustries.com, MALLOYINDUSTRIES.com. And if you go to malloyindustries.com/pod, we've got some resources too for podcast listeners there.
Awesome. Mike, I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Ammar. And can I close just by asking you one more question?
Go for it.
Yeah. Do you know why the chicken fell in the well?
Tell me.
'Cause the chicken couldn't see that.
Awesome. So that wraps up another insightful episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to scale your business and really enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.